Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Julie Astaferrero. This is my final presentation for my practicum for my graduate studies for the spring semester. Today is May 12th, 2015. So for my practicum, I had two different shows that I was designing for two different directors. I was designing for The Actor's Nightmare and also for Wanda's Visit. Now, this gentleman here next to me is one of my characters from The Actor's Nightmare. Um, Basically, this semester was interesting. It started out that my practicum was originally supposed to be, turn it back this way, please. It was originally supposed to be Vanities. It was all of the grad students doing this production. And I had started doing research for visual research. I had put it up on my computer, set it up all night. I had three characters and three different years that this takes place. So I had a folder for each character, and within that folder I had each year that it took place, and everything was organized. It was beautiful. I met with my director. She likes my ideas. And then things start to happen. Our director gets hurt. She has to go away, and we end up with a new director. Also, I have things that were going on in my personal life, and unfortunately, it took me away from a lot of what I was doing. There were definitely ways I could have dealt with this better. One of the things I could have done is I could have definitely kept in touch with emails a lot more and just done a lot more with communication-wise. That was the big thing, is I didn't do enough to communicate, and unfortunately, when this happened, I ended up getting really, really sick right during crunch time, right when they needed me to try on costumes with the girls and give them their makeup designs. I had pulled costumes, but because I had never actually really pulled costumes from stock before, what I ended up doing is I looked at the measurements and I measured each costume. My measurements were off because I hadn't done this before. I didn't know that, okay, if you need it to fit somebody who is, say, has a 36-inch waistline, you can't have a 36-inch skirt. It's going to be too small. You need to have like 37 or 38 just to give enough so that it can fit over the body, not the exact measurements. It's too tight. So almost everything that I pulled was too tight. And by the time we realized this, I was already sick and at home. My doctors and I thought I had the flu. And considering there were two people at the time who had autoimmune disorders and everybody else's immune systems were compromised because it was the middle of winter, we were all stuck inside with each other and everybody's getting sick. My doctor specifically told me, do not go back there. You will get other people sick and it could be really, really bad for specific people. So I unfortunately had to stay home. Again, I wasn't able to communicate. I didn't communicate the way I should have. And unfortunately, by the time I was able to return for the show, it was a couple days before they went up, they had to have somebody else come in and do all the costumes and the makeup. And I was essentially fired from the show. So that was a really bad ending to that. However, I learned quite a bit from it, which honestly, I think failing and getting another opportunity to do it correctly has helped me a lot in this process, versus if I hadn't gotten sick and I would have just struggled through it and it would have come out very lacking, in my opinion. And that would have been my practicum, and it probably wouldn't have gotten that great of a grade, which I realize that failing the first assigned show is going to impact my grade negatively, but I also feel that it was worth it because I learned so much from it. Anyways, I feel that if I had just struggled through it and had a half-assed show, it wouldn't have taught me a lot, and then I would have had to wait till next semester for the next show to try it again, learn from those mistakes, and by then I would have forgotten things and I would have just been struggling through. This time I was right away able to start again and go through and do things correctly this time. So what I did this time is, again, I started out with doing visual research, But not only did I do that, but I actually went through the script several times and I marked up different things, exactly what I needed here and there and everywhere. And I started making lists. I can show you a little bit of that. A little bit of lists, stuff like that. Just of what each character is going to need. I also was able to talk with the directors, ask them if there was anything specific that they wanted while I was doing my research. The first one, Actor's Nightmare, my director didn't really want anything specific. She just, I need the show costumes. Let's go with what the script says, and if I see something that I don't like, I'll change it along the way. She didn't have anything specific in mind at the time. On the other hand, my other director for Wanda's Visit very specifically wanted to place this in the 90s, 2000s-ish era, with the character Wanda being kind of like she's stuck in the 80s. Not so much as like she just popped out of your yearbook, but you can definitely tell she hasn't grown up yet. She's still stuck back in where she has been for the past however long it's been. So, I knew for that specific character, I needed 80s. For the other characters, I need modern but bland. And for the rest of those characters, I needed basically a formal wear for the waiter and then black for the so-called thugs that come in and kidnap her at the end of the show. So what I did is, for Wanda, I actually, for all of them, I went and I talked to the cast and I asked them exactly, do you have things of your own that we can use for the show? This is what we need. And I went through with each character of what they need. And I said, do you have things of your own that we could use? Because one, we have zero budget, and two, we don't have a lot of modern things in stock, especially things that fit a lot of people. So the idea of asking actors if they have their own things is one, they're going to be able to get these things very quickly, and two, I know they're going to fit. So for Wanda, she had acid wash jeans, which were perfect, and she had these really great combat type boots. So what she needed was a good shirt, and she needed a jacket to go with that. So when she brought those in, I saw those, and I went into stock, and I pulled this shirt here. It's quite bright. It's got shoulder pads. It's very, very 80s. And I had her, unfortunately I don't have a picture of her wearing it. She's also in a black jacket with fringe and all sorts of really cool stuff. Definitely 80s black leather jacket. For Jim, her high school sweetheart, he had everything, literally everything that he needed. And I had him, and he had khaki pants, plain white button-down shirt with a white undershirt underneath it, just some plain brown shoes, belt, glasses, just very, very plain, very, very modern looking, just modern husband, typical of that. I also had to do Marsha, his wife. Again, my director specifically wanted very plain and neutrals, so I have a navy blue skirt, which I had to go through stock several times to find her size because we were very limited in sizes. Most of the sizes in stock are meant for people who are very, very small. To illustrate this point, I found one skirt that was taken in so it had a 20-inch waistline. I measured it too. 20-inch waistline. That is like that big, maybe smaller. So I'm hoping it was for a child. Anyways, so I had a lot of problems finding this skirt. Other than that, she had everything else. She has the white top, the white tank top underneath it, a sweater, neutral tones, a little bit of a pattern, but nothing special. And flats, again, we have the neutral tan going on with that one. Then the waiter, he's up at the top there. Actually, I'm going to pull up his picture just so you guys can see it a little bit better here. The waiter Justin, he had everything as well. He had essentially black shoes, which you can't see in this particular photo, black pants, black vest, white shirt, and actually I did get the bow tie from him, or for him from stock. And that was very simple for the waiter. He looks professional. It's a nice looking restaurant. So he's professional looking. And then I have our two thugs in the back here. Again, all black for these guys. Black shoes, black pants, black shirt, a little bit of bling here, just to give them that tough looking thing. It's, Wanda mentions an Italian type of thing that she gets into a lot of trouble with. So these guys, my inspiration originally was kind of like Jersey Shore kind of meathead look. My cameraman is making faces behind the camera, pardon the giggling. But yeah, it's kind of like mafia thug type of look going on with these guys. So this was a very easy show to costume because my actors had most of what they needed. One of my actors, though, was in both shows, this guy here, and he didn't have anything, but the shoe, except for his shoes, he had his shoes. The pants and the shirts that he's wearing for the show, he also used in the other show, so it was actually fairly easy to costume him, just simply because of the versatility of what he was wearing, and we were able to use it in both shows. So the other show that I did was The Actor's Nightmare. This has a few more characters to it, so I'm going to go in the order that I have it in my book here. I believe the first one I have is George. George is our unfortunate actor who is having his nightmare, and he basically it's the typical idea of what you would expect of an actor who is having a nightmare. He's replacing somebody who's been in a car wreck and who's broken both his legs, and he doesn't know what show is going on. He doesn't remember attending rehearsals. He has no idea what the lines are. So he's just trying to go off and have I seen this show before? I think so. I think this is the line. But he ends up calling for the stage manager several times, who helps him out sometimes. So the first he comes in is kind of like casual clothes. He had his own things for that, luckily. I would hope so anyways. He had jeans and just a regular shirt, and he wore the black shoes for that as well. The stage manager has him take his pants off on stage, so she ends up taking those off. He comes backstage when they basically shove him off for quick change, and he comes back dressed as Hamlet. So I will give you a picture of that here. Because, once again, I have no budget, we don't have a lot of Hamlet in stock, and we're also doing this in about a week's time. I went for very simplistic. So I have the same black pants throughout everything here. Then I have this Shakespearean type vest and a neck ruff, and there's your Hamlet for you. We've got gold and maroon. Those are very, very royal colors. And with this particular jacket, which I think might be over... No, it's not. It's been taken off dry cleaning. My bad. I had to put a zipper into it. It originally had buttons, but the show calls for zipper because one of the actresses with him has to unzip it in the middle of the show, which is quite comic. So I hand-stitched that zipper in up the front. I also learned how to properly care for neck ruffs and how to iron them as well. That was fun. Alright, my next character is the actress Sarah. Sarah is a very grand, actress. She is definitely the leading lady. She first comes in and getting ready because it's about 10 minutes to curtains up when she first makes her appearance, in this beautiful purple evening gown, holding the shoes she's going to be wearing for the show, and she has orange Crocs on her feet because she's still getting ready. So she bumps into George, and she tells him about the accident, and he asks her, what show are we doing? She's like, oh, don't scare me, darling. I thought you were being serious, I believe is something to the degree of what she was saying. So she's very fancy looking for her first costume. Her second costume Actually, I think I have pictures here. They're not up on the wall for that particular one. Yes. Here is her purple gown. The next one, she was Queen Gertrude for Hamlet. So I found this beautiful black gown, and I gave her a neck ruff. Very simple, and she looks Shakespearean. She doesn't stay on stage for very long. When I first read the script, I thought that she didn't have much time between coming back on as Sir Thomas More's wife, so I used the same gown and I gave her a cape to put on. Unfortunately, there was a bit of miscommunication. This is a reversible cape. There's this gray, shiny, sparkly side, and on the other side it's black. She was supposed to wear the black side out, but she ended up wearing the shiny, sparkly one, which was prettier. But I think the black side would have gone better with the costume. Now, when I was watching this from the audience as it was going up for its only production, I realized, or actually for this one I was backstage for the quick changes, the other one I was in the audience. But as I was backstage, I realized that she actually had a lot more time to change. If I had dress rehearsals with these actors, I would have noticed that, and I would have put her in a different dress for this one. Again, it's going to be near Shakespearean time, a little bit before then. But, so I had different dresses too. But because of what I thought was going to be a huge time restraint, what I decided to do was get rid of the neck ruff and give this cape to her, so she could be poor Sir Thomas More's wife coming to see him before he is executed. Next character was Ellen. Ellen is, this is my visual research. Ellen, she's not as prominent of an actress, but she's still nonetheless a Broadway actress, or wherever the show is taking place. Her first character is also in an evening gown. This particular one we chose with a goldish tan, with necklace and all that as well. Again, she also comes in holding her shoes, but she doesn't have Crocs. She just goes across barefoot when she first enters, and then re-enters with the shoes on. They're black. I don't know if you can see them against the black background there. Thank you. So that was her costume for the first one. And then the second time she comes in, it is a Beckett-like play that doesn't actually exist, called Checkmate. So she needs to be a Beckett character. She is reminiscent of Nell from Endgame. So I went with a basic white shirt underneath a dress that's kind of not the most high-class looking, and a belt around that just to give it a little bit of shape. She stands in a trash can, so you can get the idea of what this character is like from that. And she's barefoot for this one as well. Next character I had was Meg, the stage manager. I thought I wanted her to be realistic in her stage management costume. This is funny when I was researching. This is not my actress. This is a picture of somebody playing Meg, the stage manager, in a different production. This is my actress. It is a stunning, stunning, stunning similarity between the two of them. So first, Meg comes on, and she's in basic stage manager clothes. So, because I've been in several shows here myself, and I know what their stage managers are supposed to wear, I told her, and especially since she's actually stage managed before, I told her, wear what you would wear for stage management. So that's all black, and I specifically asked her for long sleeves to go with one of the other additions to her costume. Black jeans, black shoes, and I asked one of our technical guys if I could get a headset for her as well, and he said, yeah, sure, no problem. So she's wearing the headset there. You've got the wire that clips to her belt, but it's not attached to anything, so she can move freely around the stage. Whereas if she was actually stage managing, it would be attached to where, it sends the signal to everybody else and all that. Now, the stage manager has to come on to give George his lines at certain points. So the first time she comes on, she is a maid. So I gave her an apron to throw on over her stage manager costume, and my director for props decided to give her a feather duster as well. So that was a very simple addition. And then for Sir Thomas More, she comes back again, and she is actually announced to be playing this role. So I found this, it's not really a cloak, it's not really a vest, but it has no sleeves and it's very long. And it looks kind of like a dress. Now my visual research for this, I'll show you, has something very similar looking in it, which gave me the idea of, apparently I don't have it, but I do have it on the wall here if you want to bring that just a little bit closer. Thank you. You can see her stage manager costumes, but you can tell that she's in a dress type of thing here. So when I saw that, when I was looking at different productions of this, I immediately thought of this because I knew we had it in stock because we've used it for several shows. So I figured I'll put that on her with a belt. There you have Sir Thomas Bourne, his daughter. Next character was Henry, who also doubled as the executioner. My visual research. Now, Henry originally comes on, and he is getting ready for this first show, which we actually never see him in. But because we see him at this early in play, I have him in black dress pants, white button-down tuxedo shirt, and he's got this tie that's kind of got a greenish tint around it. And he's tying his tie as he rushes by, getting ready for the show. Now, we never see him in the actual first production, but if we'd actually seen the entire production, he would have eventually been in it as a character. This is a more dramatic picture of that. This one you will recognize because it is this fellow standing here, and since you can see this more, I'm going to point at this. What I have is the same black pants. Now he has boots. I have a Shakespearean type vest. My neck ruff seems to have gone missing. That's interesting. There was a neck ruff on there, but I didn't notice until that it is actually gone right now. So he had a neck ruff, and then he has a hat, and that he looked very Shakespearean. I'm just going to check and see if it's on the floor somewhere over here, because that should not have disappeared. I'm going to be quite upset if... Nope, it's over there. I'm going to grab that. I don't have to follow you with the camera, just so I can illustrate what that looks like. I'm not sure who moved that, but this should have stayed up there. Somebody's been tampering with my things. I'm not happy about that. Anyways, here's our neck ruff. You want to tilt it up so you can see it? There's our neck ruff with our hat. Now, this is something that could have been avoided if we had a dress rehearsal. Harry pointed out after he saw this that the hat was getting in the way of the actor's face. If you want to go up just a little bit. This guy. Yeah. Hat was going down in front of his face. Now, the way I've positioned it on here, it's tilted back more on his head. You would have been able to see his face. However, another thing that the director could have done was also have him take the hat off, because he is in, this is Horatio, and he is now in front of his prince. Alright, next costume, after Shakespeare, is the executioner. So for this one, what I had him do is he gets rid of the vest, he gets rid of the ruff, he gets rid of the hat, and he gets this cape, which is actually being used over for a different costume from my seminar project right now. But this cape goes around him and it has a hood, which I had him put way, way down over his face, which actually ended up having quite a comic effect. I'm going to tilt that up just a little bit. Thank you. Harry pointed out in the audience when he tries to see things, he can't quite see through the hood. It actually got a few laughs, which was quite good. So this is basically my binder. It's got all my measurements, my visual research, and my production photos. I've got notes for each one. This is what I couldn't find before. From my directors, and then different things that I've written for my own notes when I was in meetings with them. Here's a picture here of the stitch work that I had to do to put that zipper in. Unfortunately, I don't have the vest with me. So things that I did differently is, once again, I got sick during this, but one, not quite so severely, but I was out for a couple days. So what I did this time is I sent emails, a lot of emails. I told exactly what I had pulled. I told my directors and Angela exactly where they were, And I had people, when I finally was able to come back in, start trying them on. Anything that didn't fit, I made a note of it immediately. And anything that did fit, I talked with the director, said, hey, which one do you want? We discussed. I said, I like this one the best. Oh, I'd like this one the best. Okay, well, you're the director. Let's go with this one. Or, for the most part, yeah, that looks great. Let's go with that. Which is basically how that went. Each time I had a meeting with actors, I would send out an email to both directors and my professor, Angela, saying exactly what had been done, what had fit, what had not fit, what needed to be changed, what was still needed, what I needed to pull from stock, what actors still needed to try on. And I kept track of these. I actually have them in here as well. I sent out reports. And I got feedback from people as well. Even if they didn't have anything that they needed to say back to me, if everything was all good and they didn't have anything to comment, nothing to change or anything, I gave little things saying, if you've read this email, respond with, for example, one of the ones I did was your favorite time period to costume, which is how I found out Angela likes the 1920s. So that was one thing I did different. I also got things going faster than I did before. I pulled multiple options for each character for each different costume that they needed. So that way, if something didn't fit, I had more options right there that they could try on, which was helpful because, for example, the character Sarah, we had quite a hard time finding a dress that fit her. I ended up actually taking her into the costume closet and having her look through things because even though I was matching things up with the measurements that were on the paper that I had taken and measuring the different things, they still didn't fit, which sometimes happens. So I ended up doing that. And just in general, there was a lot more communication. There was a lot more involvement on my part. I had more options there and ready for my actors and my directors, and it was a lot more of a success this time. I was also backstage for the Actor's Nightmare to help my actor who played George with his quick change from when he goes off stage pantless and then comes back as Hamlet. And then also I needed to help the actress who plays Ellen snap up back of her dress because it snaps and she can't reach it. So other than all that, it was a very good run. They were both successful shows. There was a little few things here and there, but again, we had budget constraints. We had limited stuff in stock and a limited amount of time as well. So overall, I think it went very well. I learned quite a bit by being able to learn from my mistakes right away and being given the opportunity to make up for not being able to complete my first project, which I'm very, very grateful for because I had a lot of fun designing for 2 shows instead of 1 at the same time too, which posed another challenge. So I just ended off with saying thank you again, Harry and Angela, for allowing me the second chance at my practicum of designing 2 shows. And that is my practicum. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your days.